Hickok 45 here, holding an XD Subcompact. This is the gun you saw me shoot last week in the first impressions video when I brought this and its big brother, the service model, home for the first time and fired it, about 30 minutes after I got home. So anyway, I've had a little time to fondle both guns over the week. I haven't really shot them until this morning a little bit, but wanted to do a video with just the Subcompact, do some shooting with it, and maybe it'll look a little bit better. I really had not fired one before, and it felt very different to me in so many ways. So while that was a really, I think, fair initial impression of the gun, and honest, and I guess mostly compared with what I've been shooting, Glocks for the most part, and polymer pistols. So for what it was, I think it was pretty fair. The things maybe that were negative I noticed the most, of course, which I ordinarily and understandably would. One of those was the slide being really big, seeming big and everything and all that. So, over the last week as I've looked at them and kind of done a little bit of comparison, which we will do on video, the slide is not quite as big as it appears to be in terms of height. It's just a different configuration of the gun. The gun kind of sits higher. It's bigger, it's taller than the Glock 27 in some ways, which we'll get into later. But it does appear big. It's not quite as big as it does appear. I'll just leave it at that right now. I still don't like the grip safety too much, but we may be able to work with that, so we'll see. I do like the grip, the feel of the grip, and I know that's what sells a lot of these, say, over the Glock, because when you pick one up, it fits your hand pretty well. You don't have that hump, which I do not like on a Glock. And so in that sense, it does feel better. The grip feels good. And I mean, it's not a bad feeling little gun, I have to say. The more I hold it and mess with it. Well, let's shoot it a little bit and see if I can hit anything with it. I think I figured out where to hold. I'm not sure I still can work the trigger as well as I can a Glock trigger. But I have figured out, I think, where I need to hold and what I need to do to hit something with it. Now, whether I can do it or not is another issue. So let's load up a few. I'm not going to reload this little magazine. I'm going to use the larger magazines once I empty this one. So let's just try a little bit here. All right. XD Subcompact, 40 caliber. It's like I'm shooting blanks. All right, that's better. That's some more magazines loaded. I'm using the XD magazine pouch here, and I'm also using the XD holster. It comes with the gun. I'm not particularly fond of it. It does hold the gun, and since I don't have an XD holster, it's great. It's one of those that it looks good because it rides up high on the belt, but it kind of hangs over there a little bit. Of course, my belt could be a little tighter maybe, but anyway, I'm not sure that would work so well in the real world, for me at least. So what I'm going to do is use these two magazines again. Like I said, I think I figured out where to hold pretty well, but I sure do go to missing, as you might say, at times on those 8-inch plates. Of course, 8-inch plates, even at this range, can be really frustrating at times. If you've ever shot them, you know what I mean. But let me see if I can do a little better. So that's a little better, I think, than the other day when I was shooting it. I could get the hang of it. It just would take a little bit. If I shot it another 50, 60, 75 times, I think I would reach another level with it. And if I had no other guns and I fired it hundreds of times, which I would do, and this was going to be my gun, I would get pretty good with it. Okay? I mean, if I do say so myself, I would make sure I got good with it, or I would not use it, not carry it, for sure. It just would take some getting used to the trigger being different. There's something about it. I'm not sure what it is, but I can't seem to get into rhythm. I can for 4 or 5 plates or 2 or 3 plates, and then I'll just, you know, boom, 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 and I'm just I'm not even sure where I'm missing, what I'm doing exactly. But I could correct that. I could work with that, you know, to give the gun the benefit of the doubt. The gun is accurate. It's not the gun, because at long range, when I get it the right hold, and it'll pop anything over there on the hillside. So it's just as accurate as a Glock, of course. It's just that I'd have to get used to the trigger. But it shoots okay. Let me load one of these a little more while I'm talking here, and I'll just run it a little bit more. The thing is, you see me shoot a lot of different guns. I have a lot of different types of guns, and I shoot all of them, and I enjoy them all. But the one thing you have to remember, of course I am biased on the Glock, we all know that, towards the Glock, but most of the guns and the variety of guns, they're different classes of guns. You have the old Western guns, you have double action Smith & Wessons that I kind of grew up with. And then in my selection of polymer guns, you know, I've been shooting Glocks for 25 years almost. I mean, that's my polymer choice. Just as in a single action, I like the Colt single action, you know. So I don't necessarily advise people to jump around a lot. It's one thing to have a whole lot of different kinds of guns like I do, but I'm probably never going to have 2 or 3 XDs and a bunch of Glocks and some SIGs and all that, and then be shooting all of them in equal amount. It's not going to happen, because these kinds of guns kind of have a specific purpose, and you want to stick with what you know, and you probably want to practice a lot with it, and you don't want to be switching around a lot, I don't think. I would master this one and then stay away from Glocks, for example. If I preferred this gun, I would not be shooting Glocks a lot, because this trigger's different. And that's just it. So even if I decide I really like the XD, I wouldn't be shooting it a lot. I just wouldn't do it, because it's too much like a Glock, but there's enough difference that it could mess me up. I want to know exactly what that gun, that trigger is going to feel like. I think you know what I mean. So let me shoot a couple more times. All right. Okay. Put that back there. All right, shoots just fine. You know, on those rectangular plates and everything else. The 8-inch plates are a challenge for anybody, and I can't judge a gun on that. I can't judge my ability, you know, too much on how many 8-inch plates I can hit quickly, you know, with anything that I haven't even shot much. If I worked with it, again, if I shot several more magazines, I think I could get that little glitch out of my, whatever it is, my system there, where I'm kind of getting into a miss, and then a hit syndrome there. But all in all, not a bad gun. Not a bad gun. Like I said the other day, you know, these big controls and things are new to me and different, and you know, you don't have those on a Glock. You know, it's big and everything, but it's not a huge deal. You know, it's not a big deal. Not a bad old gun. I don't like the safety on it, but you know, I can learn to work with that. You know, I see why people like these guns. They have a nice grip. Like I said, I don't like the hump on a Glock either, so I know why people like the feel of it. Has nice sights. You know, sights are really fine. One of the things about a smaller gun, the smaller a gun gets, in terms of a carry gun especially, the more critical one gets. You know, much more critical. On the larger XDs, for example, a range gun, maybe a bedside gun, little things like that are not a big deal. A lot of things about it might not be a big deal at all. But once you get into a gun that you're going to pack in an inside waistband holster, every little thing becomes much more critical. A person becomes more and more selective, I think. So this gun, for example, would have a harder time beating out my Glock 27 than, say, the 4-inch gun beating out my Glock 23, you know, or a bigger gun, 45, let's say XD, might have an easier time beating out a Glock 21, you know, which might be essentially a range gun or a gun you would carry in a big old outside the waistband holster, or like the Beretta 92 FS. Military carries that, you know, big old holster. It's a big old gun, way too big, you know, in my estimation for 9mm, but it's not that big a deal the way it's carried, you know, and then the purpose of it, you know. So, but anyway, the smaller the gun, the more selective person gets, I think, you know what I'm talking about. But the old gun's not so bad. Nice sights, feels good, and we'll do some comparison, and I'll point out some of the differences between it and the Glock 27. But you know, haven't had a bobble with it. We've shot it, I don't know, a couple hundred times. Functions fine. Trigger's pretty nice once it lets off there. It's a little different type of trigger. I'd have to shoot it a lot more to get used to it, like I said. But seems to be well made. And anyway, I can see why people like it. Right now, I would still prefer my Glock 27, but not a bad gun all in all. So for what it's worth, there you go, the XD Subcompact, and it's kind of fun to be able to shoot the thing a little bit. Life is good.